Welcome to the broadcast. Today's topic is going to be why emotional intelligence corporate trainings don't usually work and bring lasting results. I got a book today I'm going to share with you. This is a book I've been reading, Primal Leadership by Daniel Goleman. It's actually the third book of his I've been studying over the last few months. And my wife says I'm obsessed with this book because I just love to talk about it. Really interesting book. I'm going to share a couple of things from this book today. And also just share with you how we can actually give trainings within our company to our employees, to people that actually give long-term results. And a lot of times you might go to implement a training and it might in the short term bring results, camaraderie's high, culture's all better, everything's fixed. And then what happens a few weeks, a few months later, it's back to normal. Why is that? Well, today I want to share with you what a lot of the research is showing about how the brain works and what we can actually do to begin to have a long-term change within our people, our company, our organization. And right now the world's waking up. I mean, there's a shift happening. It's pretty clear right now, a shift of consciousness. And I'm not going to get into what's been happening the last few weeks with Epstein, but it's very exciting because I was sharing about Epstein 2018, 2019, about what I was learning, and a lot of friends and family thought I was crazy and everything. So with all this chaos in the world, all this madness in the world, it's helping us in a sense. It's helping humanity to. This is nothing new. It's just things are being unveiled, right? And as a leader in a company, whether you're an HR leader or you're executive or a manager, we have a duty to, I think, help our people to raise their awareness, raise their consciousness, and this translates to high performance, better cultures, less problems. Aside from just, I'm a numbers guy. I went to business school to be an actuary, and I love math. I love spreadsheets. But what I learned really as I was finishing college and after college was just being good at numbers and being smart, being book smart. It's not really enough in this day and age. And like personally, I went through college and I had a lot of struggles like with relationships. I wasn't able to communicate very well, like my feelings, and understand how to like lead people. And this is relationships and also in business. And the last 8 years since 2018, I've been learning these skills. And we're not really taught emotional intelligence in school. It's a shame because it's so valuable. Understanding things like empathy, communication, reading people's emotions in the room, understanding people's experiences, and how to, especially when you have a large team of people, like how to be able to sense the emotions in the room and how to respond accordingly. So today I want to share with you a couple awesome things about this book. Daniel Goleman is the man. And what he talks about a lot is, so let's start with this. I also want to share today a little bit about how to work with younger people, like maybe age 35 and below, because there's a clear difference that I've seen with the older generations and the young people, the young kids these days. When you have people in their 20s at your business, you really have to treat them a little bit differently than maybe someone who's 40 or 50. That's because the times are changing, because these kids have been grown up with technology, social media, the internet. It's making it more challenging for a lot of us to coach and mentor and lead these younger people. So I'll be covering that as well today. But I want to start with this. What Mr. Goleman in this book talks about a lot is a lot of times this is just in life in general. A lot of times people around us, whether it's our parents or our teachers in high school and college, our professors in college, or even our friends and coworkers and mentors in business, a lot of people around us, they have an ideal version of us, and they kind of program us to want to be a certain way or be a certain thing. And just as an example, I shared with you just now, I've always loved math and numbers. And when I was in high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do for my career full time. And my dad's a CPA, so numbers kind of runs in my family. And I remember when I was in high school, I was always just crushing it in math class and getting all A's. And I had a teacher, I had my family. People told me, hey, you should check out, pursue maybe being an actuary. And I just looked up like what their salary was, and I said, okay, sign me up. And that was like, I was sort of given my first career. And I think this happens to a lot of people, is that they don't really know maybe what they want to do in life. So people around them give them a suggestion and they run with it. And then what can happen is we have these midlife crises. I mean, for me, it was like when I was 21, 22, I had this midlife crisis. I was 22 at the time. And I realized, hey, I didn't really choose this career path. It's not really fulfilling to me. Yes, I'm good at it, but I feel a little bit empty inside. I want to pursue more. And this happens a lot. Mr. Goldman in this book talks about how when it comes to training people in our business, we might have a certain image in our heads of, okay, I want this person to improve these skills. I want them to become this person. And it's not self-directed. We're giving people trainings that are maybe company-wide trainings. Everyone has to go through the same process. And everybody has different things that they want to work on, different skills. So the main point that I want to start with is that Mr. Goldman in this book talks about how we have to tap into what do our people actually want to develop. And even before that, we could start with trying to find out, what do our people want out of life, right? Because some people, the truth is that some people in your business, hopefully not most of them, but some people might not care a ton about the business. Maybe they're at your business because they want to help their family. They want to be, provide for their family financially, or maybe it's kind of a stepping stone for them, or everyone has their own reasons and their own passions in life. So what Daniel Goleman in this book talks about is, if we can tap into what our people really want out of life. Maybe it's a family, maybe they want to have more kids, they want to travel, they want to have more financial freedom, all these different things. If we can tap into that first, figure that out first, and then we can help them, right? This is their goal. This is not the goal that we're setting as the leadership team or as a CEO or executives or HR department. No, this is like, what do our people individually want for themselves? And then if we can find that out, maybe we can help teach them the skills, the emotional intelligence skills, to get that dream reality for themselves. And what happens is this becomes more self-directed training, because they are going to be motivated to actually improve their skills and develop, versus if you tell someone to learn this and that, you have a whole list for them, learn this, learn that, they might not be very motivated, because you're just kind of just bossing them around and being like, you must do this. Instead, let's flip it around. Can we find out what they actually want out of life? Then can we reverse engineer the skills required to get there for them? And maybe those skills interlap with the business. Okay, so what we're doing is we're tying in their personal desires out of life into our business, the business goals. Sorry, my eyes are really itchy for some reason right now. But you see, what we can do is we can motivate them internally. Like, they can be self-motivated. And I'm gonna read this quote. This is what happens. A lot of times when we do trainings, it doesn't stick because we're forcing it on people. And because everyone has the same training program, some people are going to tune it out because perhaps maybe they're already skilled in those areas, or they're not passionate about this topic, and you're going to lose them. And what Mr. Goldman says is, a well-established principle of behavior change tells us that when a person has been forced to change, the change will vanish once the browbeating ends. Right? So essentially, if we're forcing people to learn things because it's what we want, they might not be very motivated to learn it over the long term. Because once the browbeating is done, once the training ends, it's back to normal and they forget it because they were kind of forced to go through it. Versus, how can we self-direct our people, make it almost feel like it's their idea? Right? One of the things I did over the last few years was I used to do a lot of video content. I used to be like a one-on-one coach, and I would help people to get past the fears actually of being on camera, being seen online, all those judgment fears and beliefs about ourselves and our self-image and our self-esteem, all those things. And I learned pretty early on that I was a lot more effective as a coach when I had my clients themselves discover the answers or discover what they could do or think of things they could practice and try out. When I would tell someone, hey, I want you to do this and this and this and this and this, it wasn't as effective as if I asked good questions and I had them tell me what they wanted maybe to try, and then I would kind of just maybe tweak it or just kind of shift it a tiny bit. But when people come up with the idea themselves, they are much more likely to actually run with it, to apply it, and to get results from it. So what we can begin to do in these trainings is, number one, realize the world is changing very rapidly. Okay, what worked 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it's not going to work anymore because people are getting a lot more, sensitive to energy. They're able to. People have a strong BS meter at this point in time, right? So people know when you're lying. They know when you're bossing around too much, when you're being a micromanager. Especially the kids these days, anyone 35 and below, these people are very intuitive. So we have to be transparent, authentic. We have to be more honest, and we have to change our training programs, or else we're not going to get the full results from them. And if you want to learn more about some ideas you could try at your company, you can email me at trevoryaglinski@gmail.com. Just my full name, trevoryaglinski@gmail.com. And I'll be happy to jump on a call with you and share some more tips. But we have to understand that the first step really in training people is they have to be self-motivated. If they're not motivated to change, it's going to be very hard for them to actually change their behaviors over the long term. And another point that Daniel Goleman makes in this book is he talks about how a lot of the times I just lost it, but it'll come back to me, I'm sure, in a second. But another big point he talks about is a lot of times training in our business and our company, we limit it to just while we're at work or while we're in the business. But these emotional intelligence skills that will help your company immensely, help you to limit your turnover, limit conflicts, limit burnout, increase performance, increase profitability. This will all happen with your people knowing these EI skills and actually embodying them more. But at the same time, we can also help our people to understand that these emotional intelligence skills, it helps you in all areas of life, with your family life, with relationships. You go to the food store, you're able to be more of a helper. Like you can add value to people across your life just in general. So in this book, what he talks about is we can do things at the business, at work, for trainings and to help our team learn these skills. But we can also encourage our people to work on these skills outside of the business. And an example in the book talks about how there was one leader who was being trained, and he wanted to be a better leader. He wanted to learn empathy better and how to read people's emotions better. So what he did was, aside from just business and work, I think he signed up to coach his daughter's or his son's sports team, and he used that as a training for himself. When he was coaching his child's sports team, he used that as an opportunity to develop his skills in emotional intelligence. Right? He consciously understood that I can develop myself, yes, of course, at work and at business, but also with my kid on their sports team, or with my partner, my wife, my husband, at home, my family. I can practice these skills throughout the whole day. And I think a lot of trainings, when people close down their laptop and they're done for the day, it's 4 p.m., 5 p.m., it's almost like they shift back to their normal self. And we can encourage our people to, this is a never-ending learning from life. Like, life is the teacher. And I've gone through a lot of trainings. I mean, I'm only 29, right? So I'll be 30 in a few months. So I know I'm young, but I've been through a lot of different companies, a lot of different trainings, a lot of onboarding trainings, sales trainings, consulting trainings. I was traveling actually 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago. I was traveling all across the country doing turnarounds, going into a company, looking at the P&Ls and helping to shift behavior in small businesses. And I had to learn all these different trainings to do this. But my point is that all these trainings, it seems like they don't talk about how these skills are relevant throughout all of life, not just business. And maybe you have someone at your business, at your company, and you want to work with them, you want to help them improve their emotional intelligence skills, their listening skills, their communication skills, overall leadership skills, right? But maybe they're not very motivated to change. And I just got the idea I was going to say earlier. In the book, he talks about a lot of people actually have a hard time getting results from trainings because they actually don't believe that they can change. Deep down, they actually believe that it's not possible to change, and that can kind of block them. The new science is showing, you can look up a man named Dr. Joe Dispenza, and our brain, what is that? Our brain is flexible. The neuroplasticity of our brain can be shaped. We have these highways in our brain, and if we can have the motivation to actually work on this, we can change our thought patterns and our belief patterns. And it's not easy. I'm not saying there's some quick, easy hack to do this. It will take repetition. It'll take time. But we can change our brain. We can change our patterns, and that will change our behavior, and that will change our business outcomes. It will change our P&L. It will change our profitability. It will change our ROIs that we're getting. So while we're on this topic of the brain, this is a good segue. Mr. Goldman in this book, he also talks about the difference between the neocortex in the brain and the limbic part of the brain. Okay, and a lot of corporate trainings, emotional intelligence trainings, they focus on the neocortex, which is the newer part of our brain. It has to do with the critical thinking and abstract thinking, and it's more of that part of our brain that can analyze things and it's like that more of that deeper thought. Whereas the limbic system is more of that instant reaction. It's more of that primal part of the brain. And what Mr. Goldman in this book says is that just most trainings focus on the neocortex. They focus on information, on the intellect. Memorize this. They show, you do trainings, you have slideshows, 1 million words, and you just bombard people with information, right? It's information overload, a lot of trainings. That's why you have a training at your company and everyone's all rah after the effort's over. And then in 3 months, we're back to the same spot we were before because it didn't stick because it was too much information and it was too much heady information. And it wasn't enough grounded, practical, role-playing, practicing, like tangible examples of how to actually model the behavior you're looking for. And what Mr. Goldman says, I'll read it real fast. I had it saved here. Is the problem is that most training programs for embracing emotional intelligence abilities such as leadership, they target the neocortex instead of the limbic brain. Thus, learning is limited and sometimes can have even a negative impact. So the limbic brain is the emotional brain. And that is one of the core problems is that a lot of our trainings, they focus on the intellect and not the emotional side of things. And what I learned a couple years ago when I was doing that consulting where I was going all across the country, I was going into the business, I was helping to change behaviors. Before I did that experience, and I only lasted a few months because it was nonstop travel, and I have a wife and a son at home, and it was really not working out very well. So I only did it for maybe about a month and a half or 2 months. But what I learned was this. I learned, and this was, to me, it was mind-blowing because I've seen a lot of things at restaurants. I've seen emotional problems at restaurants, and I've seen a lot of conflicts and how things happen and how it leads to a poor customer experience and how the end result is it hurts the business financially as the end result of everything. But I never knew that what I saw firsthand traveling across the country was that most of these problems and a lot of the reasons why these companies would pay for this consulting that I was doing, by the way, they were paying about $600 an hour. Not all to me, just to the company that I was with for the consulting. So it was a very, very high ticket consulting. And what I realized was a lot of these business problems and the reasons that they hired these consultants was because of people problems. It was because of emotional problems. These people problems and emotional problems lead to big numbers within the business. Remember, there was one time I was in Boston. I was working with a manufacturing company in Boston, and there was a lot of drama at the office between the owner and the owner's daughter and the owner's the owner's what's the word? The owner's second wife. And basically the whole thing was just everybody was kind of fighting for the owner's attention because he was a father and the husband, and his daughter and his wife, and they were kind of always fighting because they wanted his attention. They wanted the owner had a hard time being a father at home for his daughter and being a husband for his wife and being a leader at the office, because all of us play different roles in life. And this is relatable to you. Maybe you're a parent as well, or you're a husband or a wife, and we can scramble and juggle up these duties that we have for our business, for our family. It can get all mixed and matched. I know, like for myself, sometimes I come home from after work and I'm with my wife and my son. My son's a year and a half, and I can have a hard time focusing, like being present with my family, because I have all these business thoughts. Like it's 6 p.m. I'm having dinner and I'm thinking about my next video or these clients I'm working with, or I have all these thoughts about what I'm doing. And we have to, and I'm working on this right now myself, I'm working on this very heavily, is we have to learn how to turn that off. And the first step is the awareness. It's the awareness of our thoughts and what are we thinking? Because thoughts are real. And we go through school and we don't understand. There's no teaching in school, at least my schools I went to, there's no teaching in education about understanding our thoughts are real. Our thoughts are things, right? We don't see them, but they're real. And I'm kind of on a tangent here, I realize that, but this is very important, because if we can see, here's what's happened. What's happened is the schools have not taught emotional intelligence to the masses, and now within our companies, we're paying the price for that. We're having conflicts, emotional problems. There's a lot of turnover in different industries and different companies, where it's hurting our bottom line, it's hurting the financials, and it's all because we just don't have the tools. We've not been taught the tools how to understand our emotions and our thoughts and our beliefs. And if we can understand the importance of this and actually value this for our people, we're going to survive the coming changes on this planet, because a lot's going to be changing. A lot will be breaking down. We're already seeing it now with the media. I mean, all this Epstein stuff, like you understand that the media, like, this is nothing new, all the Epstein stuff, right? It's nothing new at all. It's just that now it's finally going mainstream, right? The media hides things all the time, the mainstream media. And this is one example of just, my point is just that things are going to be breaking down. And if we can, the way we can get through these changes as a company is we have to, emotionally, we have to have an environment where people feel safe. People can voice their opinions without being scared of getting fired or getting punished for speaking up. And we have to just have more fun too in business, and these trainings as well. Our corporate trainings, we have to make them more fun, make them more engaging. And that's kind of the last thing, sort of towards the end of this video, I want to hit on. I got some time still here, but I wanted to share about the younger employees, because young people, we have these things called ADD or ADHD. I remember I grew up playing ice hockey, and I remember when I was playing hockey for many years, there was this one kid on my team. We were friends, and he told us, he's like, yeah, they say I have ADD and I have these pills I take every day and all these things. And like looking back now, I just look at my old friend on my hockey team, and I look at him, at the memories of him, and man, he had such high energy. And I can just tell I can look back now and understand that he didn't really know how to focus the energy, because he had such high energy, and we're not taught in school how to focus energy. we're not taught mindfulness or how to kind of slow down with our thoughts and be more focused, be more present. So all it is with ADD and ADHD, it's high energy. Like that's it. And what happens is you have people in school, you have teachers, and I love teachers, but I just gotta say, like, I think a lot of teachers, they're the ones that judge these kids and say they have ADD or ADHD because they aren't sure how to handle their energy. So when we don't know how to handle someone's energy, we just label them. It's a lot easier to just label them and just say they have this condition, give them pills, make them docile, make them more to fit your mold, and then problem solved. No, we have to end that. Okay? The kids these days, the younger employees and their teenagers, people in their 20s or even in their 30s, these people have high energy. And we have to understand that we have to treat them differently, not differently like discriminate them or anything like that. No, I don't mean that, but like we have to just understand that they have high energy and we have to make our trainings more engaging. I don't think a 3-hour training with 40 slides for people that have high energy, probably not gonna be very effective. But if you do maybe 20 minutes of the slides and then 20 minutes of a role play and then a break and you do more role play and make it exciting, make it a discussion back and forth like ping pong, they talk, you talk, they talk, you talk, back and forth discussions. These are some quick ways where we can make it more engaging for people. We can make people actually want to be involved in our trainings because we're not going to lose them. And if we're not being mindful of this, we can lose the young people in our business. We can lose their focus, lose their attention because they're tough to work with. But there's ways. There's ways to engage the young people, to make trainings more fun, to make them. You could do different skits and role playing, different scenarios. You could paint the picture of a scenario and have some details, and then you have them go, and then you give feedback, and you make it fun and interactive. That's the future of training, really. This is virtual or in person. You can do role playing and do different things to drive home the behavior changes. Because that was the thing I learned in my past consulting jobs is that if we can shift human behavior within our business, we can change everything. We can get better financials, get better ROI. We can have a better, a lower employee turnover rate. All these things. It comes down to behavior change. How do we change and influence people to be more harmonious, to be more emotionally intelligent, to understand people better? And I have this framework that I'll be sharing a lot more about on LinkedIn, on YouTube. It's basically, I've created this framework from Daniel Goleman, but the 4 steps that we can work on. This is for business and of course personal life as well. But the 4 steps are really self-awareness, self-leadership, social awareness, and social leadership. Those 4 steps, that we can work on those 4 areas. And I'll share a lot more about each one individually, of course, but self-awareness, self-leadership, social awareness, and social leadership. In that order too, essentially. But we have to just make it a priority, right? My goal for this video is just to help you, just to give you some ideas here, but just it's up to us as the business leaders to create these values within our company, create these focuses of making emotional intelligence a priority. Being smart, being book smart, being smart with numbers or just with spreadsheets or whatever it is, it's not enough anymore. Our people have to be more well-rounded. We have to understand how to communicate with people, how to read someone, how they're feeling, because all of us are connected. All of us are in a sense connected, right? And we can learn how to read people better. We can learn how to navigate the emotional challenges of that business better. But it starts with our training programs, and the leader sets the example. If the business leader comes out and says, "Hey, everybody, we are now making emotional intelligence a priority within this company. We're going to be doing trainings for you. We're going to be helping you we're going to show you how this is going to help you in your personal life too, with your family and your friends. And And the world's changing, everybody. The world's going through a lot. There's a lot of chaos in the world, but we're gonna be together in this. We're gonna get through this together, and we're gonna make this a priority for you guys, for the team, to teach you the skills to have success in all areas of life. So thanks for watching, my friend. I'm tired of talking today. It's a rainy day here in Austin, and I'm gonna go do some food shopping with my family. But have a good rest of the day. This video you found gives you some value. If it did, definitely subscribe or follow me on LinkedIn down below, and I'll see you next time. Take care.